All right, welcome back to the Spartacus Project, everybody. We had some interesting developments over the past week with some responses. We finally got some real engagement from the arm wrestling community with a couple of the videos that Chris and I had done. And surprise, surprise, it was some of the videos where Chris and I talked about possible transgenderism, chicks with dicks, arm wrestling community. Elizabeth Mochek was the arm wrestler we were talking about, as you all know, and she screen recorded like a 30-second clip of one of our podcasts where we were kind of just joking around, going back and forth about her. And she posted it on her Facebook account. And she tagged Chris and I in it. And we all went back and forth. And before I say anything, I want to say the real winner of this entire situation was Liz Mochek. We said hilarious, ridiculous things about her. And she posted the video of it, tagged Chris and I, went back and forth with us, took it like a champ, proved that she's got more balls than most men in general, let alone most men in arm wrestling. And to hammer that point even further home, there was congrats to Mochek. She handled that beautifully. She earned my respect the way she handled it. There was multiple guys jumping in there that were either simps or pathetic humans trying to hammer Chris and I, acting like they don't have those conversations or joke around with their male friends like that. If you try to pretend as a man or even a woman, like, let's not act like women don't have these type of conversations about men. Men and women talk about sex. They talk about horrible, disgusting things with each other all the time. So just because Chris and I are willing to do it publicly doesn't mean that you people in your glass houses throwing stones don't ever do that. So when you do that, when you're a man, specifically a man, when you're a man and you come out here and say, "Oh, I can't believe they would say those type of things about a woman," I guarantee you that guy has said those same things or worse about women. Those are the conversations that men have, man to man, joking around. It's human nature. Whenever you see something that you think is hilarious or funny or ridiculous, or if you see a woman you think is attractive, or guys have those conversations. So I thought that was amazing on Mochek's part to dive into it head first, take all the heat, and then dish it out. And I thought it was hilarious on the part of LaRae Jenkins and Andrew Quintana, I think his name was. Those are the two biggest betas that hop out to me as guys who were pathetic on that post, to act like, how dare you say those things about a woman? So you were in there too, Chris. What did you think of that?
Well, yeah, ton of respect for her because, man, not only did she take the criticism, she posted it, she owned it, she laughed at it, and I mean, you don't see that today. That's incredibly rare from a woman or a man. Ton of respect for her, a lot of conviction, and yeah, like you said, metaphorically, she has more balls than 99% of all the men in arm wrestling, let alone like people on social media. It's very impressive. It's very impressive.
Yeah, she earned my respect big time. She was the clear winner out of all of that. I thought it was hilarious. Yeah. And like it's funny too how you can take a screen recording of 30 seconds like that and post it, and everyone has opinions. But you and I have done close to 10 hours now of this shit together. We've talked about a bunch of stuff. We even went in depth on that, and then the 30 seconds she posted made me look like the fucking bad guy.
Yeah.
I was the one saying she wasn't a man, and you were calling her a man. So that just goes to show you how things can get twisted and turned. But I'm not mad about it. I thought it was awesome either way. I'm glad that she shared it and didn't block either of us. Was willing to go back and forth. I thought she handled it perfectly, and it was a great thing for me to see her have that kind of fortitude where someone could say those things and you could just go back and forth. Like, that's what people need more of on social media, is conversations where someone can say things or do things and you can have the conversation with them and not block them, not lose control of your emotions and not be willing to engage.
Yeah, she obviously has a lot of confidence in herself, and it's funny because my journey with her and me making bold comments and presumptions and stuff like that, and then I start seeing her match, and tremendous character, and the more I learn about her, the more I see some strength of character and confidence and things we don't see every day from pullers, let alone male or female. So yeah, And like you said, she's a clear winner out of that whole um, scenario, that situation in the post. Um, yeah, no respect, no respect, absolutely.
I don't know if you saw this or not, Chris, but this was news in the arm wrestling world. Devon Larratt is going to be pulling Leonidas Arcona. Did you see this announcement?
Yeah, I saw. Well, I didn't know I saw a post about it. I wasn't sure if it was bullshit or not, but it doesn't surprise me. And um, yeah, so yes, I did see it, and give me your opinion. I'll roll with mine.
I think Leonidas is going to beat him. I think Leonidas is too strong for him. I think if John and Devon pulled that day, that Devon pulled Chance, John would have beaten him. I think Devon at this smaller frame, less PEDs, coming in 50 pounds lighter, I think it's going to be a big problem for him. And he still has that King's move, but I think Leonidas is so strong with his ability to, and Leonidas is very arm wrestling strong, but this is a guy who built his strength up through powerlifting and gym lifts. They're going to teach him how to press, to how to get behind that and press, and his strength will be there. Where if Devon tries to King's move, Leonidas is going to press, and Devon's elbow is going to be either forced to come off the back or try to come forward. And if he tries to come forward, I think Leonidas will pin him. Just like in the match with Chance. Chance was, granted, Chance's presses were a little bit more gauged towards fouling as opposed to pinning. But I think Leonidas is probably going to beat him. And Devon's game favors the straps, but in the straps, Leonidas appears to be ridiculously strong too. This is like a lose-lose scenario for Devon, where if he beats Leonidas, he's supposed to, but if he loses, it's embarrassing for him. And it's a win-win for Leonidas getting to go from pulling John Brezink to pulling Devon Larratt. Like, what the fuck? This is going to be his third professional arm wrestling match, and he's gone from pulling in 2 of his 3 matches. He's pulled 2 of arguably the goats of arm wrestling. So it's great for him, but I think he beats Devon.
Yeah. The only thing that I think is a good thing with this match is I think they're former training partners, and I think they're pretty close friends or friends. So I don't know how much clowning we'll see from Devon, but for sure if he's struggling and he's having issues with the ref and he's not comfortable and he goes down 1-0, you're going to see a ton of mental games and clowning. But I have to disagree with you. I have Devon as the favorite. Are they? I mean, Leonidas is going to be much heavier. Does Devon have a weight cap, or can Devon come in at 240, 245?
I don't think there's any weight cap for Devon. I mean, I know Leonidas isn't making any sort of weight. He was 275 when he just pulled John. So I think they're letting him come in at whatever. And it seems like Devon is not trying to gain. I don't know if he had a health scare from PEDs or if he's just trying to stay in that light heavyweight division. But I mean, if Devon shows up at 245 or 250, yeah, it's a wrap. But if Devon comes in at 235 or 230 like he did with Chance, I don't see him beating. Like, I understand Devon should be the favorite, but something in my gut and the way I've seen Devon perform recently, I don't think if he comes in at that size that he's beating Leonidas. And something else to consider, Leonidas is going to continue to progress and get better. I don't know what the date is for this match, but the further you put Leonidas in the future, the stronger he's going to be, the more table IQ he's going to have. Like, his table IQ against John wasn't even bad. John was just a master going against a guy who's just average table IQ. And Leonidas was stronger than John and lost because of the IQ. But John's IQ and strength is almost 50-50, whereas he's as smart as he is strong. Devon's IQ is more fucking with the refs, fucking with you, King's moving. Like, you're not going to, John didn't King's move him. Like, I don't know how Devon's going to be able to King's move a guy like Leonidas in the straps and not go off the pad when that super strong guy comes forward.
Yeah, I have Devon winning regardless of the weight he comes in because eventually Leonidas' wrist will crack, and Devon might not go into full King, but he'll lay back and lay down, and in the strap start tightening up the noose, and he'll burn him out. And Devon's just not going to lose to, I don't want to say bums because they're not bums, but they're not high end, elite pro tier guys. I don't have Chance at super heavyweight as an elite tier guy. He just doesn't have the horsepower with the big motherfuckers in Europe. Can you see Chance beating Gennady? Nothing. Chance and Leonidas was a little bit more physically formidable and impressive to watch. They just doesn't have the refinement. Um, it wouldn't surprise me if he wins one or two matches, but he'll have to develop because his wrist will go back. He just doesn't have the refinement in the wrist, and Devon will clown around, but Devon will take it serious. I don't think Devon wants to start taking losses to level 3, tier 3 players. I don't think he wants to start doing that, so he's going to take it serious, and he'll clown around, but he'll beat him. One thing I don't like with Devon's matches over the last year is he never squares his shoulders. Like and I don't blame him. I blame the refs. Like they say square, and he'll open. He'll square for a second, and he'll open, and they never, whether they don't have the audacity or balls to call it, or the promoter saying, yeah, let's let him do what he wants. And then also you're seeing he's also exclusively on all his matches, he's false starting. When they're about to ready, he's driving back, and they don't say anything. And I don't understand why they just don't put him in his place. And I don't understand why a ref doesn't say, listen, shut your mouth. You're not going to dictate how this match goes. You think you can, but I'm just going to foul you out. So, and just take full control and prevent him from being a clown. He can be a clown in between the matches, but when the elbows go down, the ref has to take full control. Unless they don't have the plums or the promoter saying, yeah, don't do that. Let them play. Let them have fun. Let Devon do his thing. I don't know, but it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch. It's not easy to watch. But that being said, he's a winner, and I can see him winning against Leonidas. No, for me, there's no doubt. I'll be shocked if Leonidas wins. I'll even lay down like 2-1 odds.
But, really?
Oh yeah, he won't lose to him. Right. There's a lack of refinement. Lack of, now you say he's got stamina and strength, but it's not connective stamina. Like he doesn't have arm wrestling stamina. I mean, he does to a certain degree, but not like you can't build arm wrestling stamina within 3 years of arm wrestling. Not at the top end. So he'll just get burnt out, but it'll be ugly. I promise you that'll be an ugly match. Much like Michael Todd, once the wrist goes back on the opponent, and that's all they try to do, they try to fatigue the flexion of the wrist of the opponent. And once that goes, it goes. There's no coming back from it. And I don't know if Leonidas has the ability to flop this press like Gennady did to Devon. I don't believe he has that. Maybe he doesn't. Like you said, if the match is scheduled in 4 or 5 months, I might change my well, I won't change my belief in the outcome, but there'll be somewhat of a shift because in 6 months Leonidas will be a different. He'll be way more refined. In a year from now, he might be the number one arm wrestler on the planet. Maybe not in a year, but he's definitely moving in that direction. So who knows? But I have Devon just on experience and connective endurance alone beating him.
Okay, going back to that last East versus West, who do you think wins if they pull that day, Leonidas or Chance?
Yeah, that's an incredibly good question. I go with Chance. Chance
really?
Yeah, because Chance beats John. Chance will beat John. And Chance beats Leonidas. Yes. Yeah.
I think you're kind of crazy on that one.
No.
Yeah.
I don't find Leonidas that impressive. I don't give him as much credit as you do. Like he beat John. John is like, it's amazing to watch him win. But I mean, he's gone down a notch. He's not a stud in that 220 class. Like he's just not. I just, I don't know. I think Chance beats Leonidas. I think Chance beats John.
Do you remember John pulling a Rackley? Do you remember that match?
Yeah. But we're going back a year and a half, aren't we? A year to a year and a half.
At least a year.
That's when he flop wristed. That's when he pressed him to win the last match. Was that the one?
Rackley was pressing.
That's right. John went over top of him. Yeah, John went over.
John was top rolling a Rackley.
Yeah.
And I know John's general strength, like people think maybe John's general strength might be down. When's the last time you saw John lose his hand as bad as he did against his only chance at being Leonidas was that flop press. He was losing his hand every time. And then you see in round 2, maybe round 1 and round 2, John sinks that hook, slides forward on the pad and sinks that hook. And he's like, all right, now I got him. And then Leonidas stares at him and says, no. He's just stared at him and goes, no. And John's like, fuck, and has to go back out. John's only path to victory was bending his wrist back and pressing through because Leonidas didn't know how to defend that.
So both Rockley and Leonidas do not have the ability to go sideways in any position with a lot of strength. Not at the elite level. We've seen John hand consult somebody and the guy with bent wrist goes through. And I believe Chance with a bent wrist would go through them. Chance has a ton of side pressure. Chance has a wicked elbow. So I see Chance dealing better with John's wrist, and even if he doesn't and his wrist goes back, I think Chance goes through John. Don't forget Chance is 100 pounds heavier than John, not 100 pounds, but he's considerably heavier than John as well. So I have Chance beating both Leonidas and John. But that's just it's speculation. That's my pick. Chance didn't look great against Devon after the first match, but I mean, there's a lot of bullshit in that you have to funnel through. Like there's Devon's victories and losses, especially his victories, are not like he beat Hermes, convincingly, but Hermes wasn't that bad as the optics led us. Like Hermes isn't that bad. And Devon just has a way of just taking a guy right off his game with all his clowning and frustrating guys, and so I think Chance is stronger than what we saw. He's a better arm wrestler than what we saw.
Chance is a really, really good arm wrestler, and Chance's horsepower when he's fresh, his ability to hit for pins, and his strength when he's not drained is very high. Like the Chance kind of gets underestimated because once he gets stopped and gets drained a little, he doesn't really have the gas tank. Like once Chance is a little bit tired, his strength drops tremendously. But Chance, when he's fresh, his horsepower is great. Like I've seen Chance and pulled with Chance. I've seen the difference once he's slightly gassed. And it's different with everybody. Like you see some people, they get gassed and they're still really strong. Chance, when he gets Chance, when you chink him a little, is like way weaker. And his endurance to me against Devon actually looked better than I thought. And a lot of that was probably Devon playing into it and playing games.
Yeah.
And like, if you're going to offer 2 to 1, I think you owe me $1 right now from the previous bet where it was $10,000 to 1. So I'm up $1 on you.
Yeah, you are.
So if you're going to offer 2 to 1 odds, I bet you $100 that Leonidas beats Devon.
Done.
All right, perfect. So that'll be we'll make that bet. If he loses, I'll pay you $100. And if Leonidas wins, you don't have to pay me $200, but you're going to have to donate $200 to the Elizabeth Mochek Chicks with Dicks funds. That I'm going to set that up. So
wow.
I should
go Devon, go. All of a sudden, I'm Devon's number 1 fan.
Yeah, you're rooting for Devon. What a surprise that is. But anyway, you touched on some other subjects that I wanted to touch on as well. You're talking about how the refs in Devon's matches, like they don't have the balls to take control. They're scared to take control. I don't think it's balls or scared. I think subconsciously, Devon's one of the only superstars in the sport of arm wrestling. And Devon knows that. And he uses it against the judges, where he knows that no matter how strict the judges, how bad I keep saying judges, referees, how bad the referees want to take control of the match, they don't want him to lose on fouls. They don't want to be the ref that made Devon lose on fouls. And Devon is willing to lose on fouls if he has to, but the ref isn't willing to give him the loss on fouls. So it creates this weird dynamic where you have a guy who's willing, especially if he knows that guy's stronger than him and he's trying to drain them, he's willing to give up a match on fouls just by being an asshole in the setup. And he knows the ref isn't really willing to make him lose on fouls. So he gets away with way more than he should because he's the biggest superstar. It's like the Michael Jordan effect. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, they all get away with fouls.
But and you say that it's not a question that they don't have the funds. I think what it is it's a lack of integrity. Because if you're a ref with integrity, foul to foul, whether the guy's a superstar or not, you follow him. And if he continues, you follow him again. He's eventually going to straighten up, and he's eventually going to abide and respect your word, or else he's going to not do it anymore. But they don't do that. They don't fucking do that. They don't do that. They'll do it at WAF. WAF, they don't give a fuck. WAF, they fucking. But in super matches in these professional leagues, they just are either intimidated, they are just either told to back down, or they just lack integrity or balls. But for me, you gotta fucking line them up. A ref has to foul them out. And I mean, a ref has to be aggressive with him. Shut your fucking mouth. I've made the call. You can't, a puller cannot win over a ref. The will of a puller cannot outwill a ref, theoretically. Right? The ref is the authority of the match. Right? Unless the ref is completely biased and making personal calls that look really bad. But if the ref is just doing his job, the puller cannot outwill the ref. Should not, theoretically. But they are, especially Devon. We've seen it with Travis in the past. We see it with Michael Todd and Jerry. And I think as soon as a puller starts crying and whining and yelling, the ref subconsciously just, okay, whatever. All right, you want to restrap them. They just start softening up, and I just can't stand. I just can't see. I can't stand that. You don't see that in professional sports like you do in arm wrestling. So what is it? Is it a lack of integrity, a lack of balls? I don't know what it is, but we see it a ton in arm wrestling when we're dealing with these superstar egomaniac or just very strong personality superstar pullers. They just run over the refs. Absolutely run over the refs.
But you do see it in other sports, though. It's very
not to the same degree, but it's also when you see LeBron taking 4 steps, then dunking, and they don't call the travel. Like subconsciously, Jordan got away with stuff, but that's a mistake. It's a mistake on the ref. The refs are not machines; they're not cyborgs, and they are weak. Like they are not all of them. But when they give one superstar in any sport a little bit more leeway than others, it's a lack of integrity.
But it happens too. Like the closest comparison I can make for arm wrestling, it's not a combat sport, but it is sort of a combat sport because it's one-on-one, you versus another guy. Look at fighters like if we take it to MMA, John Jones gets away with more eye pokes than any other MMA fighter, and he just hangs it. He'll hang his fingers out there, and his guys he's never been deducted. He's never been deducted a point for eye poking.
Because so regardless of the sport, I think you see it all the time. You see it in football. They give a little bit more tolerance with Tom Brady. If you just touch him, often you'll get the defender will get flagged. If it's a fourth stringer that gets hammered, generally there's a little bit more tolerance. And I understand why they do it. I understand what you're talking about. John Jones in MMA, LeBron Jordan in NBA. I understand that it's a business. You want to safeguard and protect your biggest commodities, but it's still a lack of integrity, professional integrity on the ref. Whether it's a lack of professional integrity or a lack of balls, and whenever LeBron or these top athletes get upset, the refs automatically back down. I don't know, but whether it's a lack of balls or a lack of professional integrity, we see it across every sport. It's way more prominent in arm wrestling because the refs are not professional refs. They don't make a living. They don't make $250,000 a year reffing. So they're just guys with a shirt that know how to ref, but they're not professional refs. So we see it's worse in our sport. But even in all professional sports, boxing judges, so forth, there's more than ever, there's a lack of professional integrity because men in general today have less of a spine. And you have to understand that someone that decides to go in reffing as a professional ref, there's something they don't like about competition. They don't like confrontation. There's someone who decides in their prime to go into reffing instead of actually being an athlete. There's something about that. And I think they just generally, that's also what makes them a less formidable ref. not across the board. There's some great refs we've seen in sports, but refs go into reffing because there's something about the intensity of competition that doesn't sit well with them. So they become a ref. So refs in general, compared to an athlete, have less conviction, less spine. But today, when you consider men are just have less conviction, less ethical fortitude, refs will have less as well compared to 1970, 1980. But
I think you're right on a lot of points. One thing I will say, if a ref ever wants to take real control of a Devon Larratt match, you have to stop. I think it's subconscious where he's the superstar. They don't want to let him. They don't want to foul him out. They don't want to call fouls. They have to cut that shit out from the start. Give him a foul right away.
Well, right away. And yeah, you have to say to him, listen, Devon, like, you're not going to win this. I'm going to call you, and you can scream and you can cry and you can moan, and your wife can fucking run her mouth nonstop for the next 7 minutes. I'm going to call this match. And if you test me, if you think you can run over me or outwill me, you're going to take a loss, and then you're going to take another loss, and then you're going to cry more. But unless the promoter decides to go with your clowning rather than my, straight-laced reffing, you're in trouble. You just have to say that to him. Now, you want to fuck around or not? Like, what do you want to do? But you will not win this, and you have to be stern. What do you think Devon's going to do? Grab him by the neck? Not to fucking touch him. If the promoter has any integrity or any, you can't do that. So Devon will fall in line. You just never see refs do it. You never see it. You never see it.
You're right, and that's what they should do right away is call him on his bullshit immediately. And it's not just Devon; it's anybody that plays this game, where you're trying to constantly use your status to manipulate the refs or use it to your advantage in a match. If the refs are subconsciously or even not subconsciously, they might be aware, like, I can't really call this the same. Bullshit. You call it just like it's any other guy, and you set the boundaries immediately. First round of the match, you call a foul, and you tell him, hey, put your elbow down. And a thing that pisses me off the most about watching Devon, he has never been fouled for his conduct. Like, if I'm I've reffed many matches, not to this level, but if I'm ever reffing a match and Devon Larratt is going in the opponent's corner and calling him a fat piece of shit and taunting him and getting in his chair, I will give you a foul. I will fucking foul you. That's a foul right there. Go to your corner. Quit insulting him. You're being a complete asshole during the match, and somehow in Devon's mind, in between after the pin and the next match, I can be the biggest piece of shit asshole in the world, and it's not a foul. The refs should control him way more than they do. And I know we'll get a lot of people who say, like, oh man, you're dumbing down the sport. Like, there's a big difference between hyping up a match in between rounds and talking shit and being a complete asshole. Yeah. And Devon in his match with Chance was a complete asshole.
You see in MMA, Chael Sonnen will talk trash leading up to the fight, and I mean epic trash. But could you imagine if after the first round, when they're both sitting at the corners talking to their trainers, Chael gets up, goes over to the guy, gets 3 feet from his nose and say, "You fat piece of shit." Like, the guy would be warned and then disqualified. And I don't even know if he'd be warned. But then you don't see that because it would never fly. But it flies in arm wrestling. Why? Because refs don't have any fucking balls. They don't have any fucking balls. And I'm talking to all you refs out there. I've never seen one with a high-level match and a high-level puller. No, there's been some, but they're all like WAF. But when it comes to professional leagues, I have yet to see a ref with Devon or Travis or even Michael Todd say, "Listen, shut your fucking mouth, get in that corner, stop acting like a goddamn fucking clown, act like a goddamn professional, or you're gonna fucking take an L and it's gonna cost you money. And if you think I'm fucking around, try me, motherfucker. What's it gonna be?" That's all they have to do, and Devon will abide. Oh, he'll cry, but he'll abide. After one foul, he will. And after the event, they'll fucking cry and post and go on social media and piss and move. Take control. Your jobs, take control. When a match is chaotic and out of control, it's always on the ref. All of these pullers, it's on the fucking ref.
Can you imagine if during a MMA match, Chael Sonnen walks over to the opponent's corner, starts talking shit to him, and then someone in the opponent's corner decides to engage him and tries to double leg him. And then Chael Sonnen's wife runs out of his corner and starts fighting him. And they all fall on the fucking mat and start rolling back and forth. No fouls called, no nothing, no either way. Like it was hilarious to see Devon stoop to such lows against someone that he like. And I respect Chance. Chance is a great puller. Devon and Chance shouldn't be close. But to see him stoop to those lows, and then to see his wife stoop to those lows because Devon's getting way too much attention, and she had to get in there on the spotlight.
Yeah. And, then and then he suplexes Artem and then looks at the ref and says, "Well, I'm just defending myself." So, just, you know, just a clown.
You're not defending yourself. You went into the opponent's corner, started talking shit, and Artem was playfully pushing back with you. Like Devon started all that. And there was a sequence too during their match where Devon's being an asshole, and you hear Chance's father say something to Devon, and Devon looks back at him and says, "Chance started it. Like your son, he started it." Talking about his son, like
it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, and I don't have anything against Devon. I like Devon. I think Devon's one of the best ambassadors of the sport. But if I was Chance's father and Devon was talking to my son that way and treating my son that way during the match, Devon and I would probably be fighting. And you can say I have a lack of sportsmanship. You can say I have a lack of integrity for doing that. I'm not going to let someone try to berate and talk to my son that way during an athletic competition and me not step up and say something to them. But I know I wouldn't have to because my son would not allow him. Like, my son wouldn't allow himself to be treated like that. Chance should have bitch slapped Devon. When Devon, like the best medicine Devon could ever get in arm wrestling, honestly, is if someone bitch slapped him or punched him or said, "Get the fuck back to your corner. Get out of my face." Yeah. Devon wouldn't do that. Like Devon does that because Devon's a bully. He bullies people in these matches because they can't ever do anything. I would if I was Chance after I got that first win, knowing especially I'm probably not going to get any other pins, and Devon starts acting crazy like that, punch that motherfucker.
Yeah. And there's also another thing I didn't like. Devon will, when before the match or after the match, he'll swing and pin a guy, like drive his arm into the pin pad when the guy's not engaged. Like if I'm a ref, so you do that again, it's an automatic loss. That's incredibly unsportsmanlike, and that can lead to a severe arm injury. And if someone did it to Devon, Jody would cry, he would fucking have a tantrum. So it's totally hypocritical. And I don't even blame Devon because he's a clown. He plays the clown game, he plays the heel game. It's more about his social media following than the integrity of arm wrestling for him now at this stage. So I don't really blame him because he is who he is. He's a full-fledged clown. But it's the ref's inability to even remotely take control and not it's just a joke. And so I blame the refs in this whole thing. I don't blame Devon because Devon is who he is. And we know it's predictable how he's going to act. And if you take a match with Devon, you know it's going to be a shit show. So it's not even Devon's fault. I don't even blame Devon. The refs are fucking bitches. They're just bitches. They just can't take control. Now, unless Engen's telling all of them to submit and let the match happen and don't be a hardline ref.
I don't think that's the case. I think he has way too much integrity to say that to the refs.
And no ref with any little bit of pride is going to put on a ref shirt to be a puppet. Like, would you? If the ref, just let it go. But then go get another ref. I'm here to ref. If you don't want me to ref and just be a puppet who nods my head and say, okay, I would. No man would do that. So the refs are just fucking pathetic. So they're all pathetic. I'm not watching arm wrestling like I used to. I don't try to watch every tournament, every match, every super match, but it seems like the majority, and I'm generalizing, but when it comes to these professional leagues, you do not see take charge hardline refs like you will in WAF. And Collins is one of my all-time favorite refs. And he's more hardline than most, and he's still kind of not taking control. He can take control. I've seen Bill Collins absolutely take control. The guy can take control. he's one of the best refs in the history of the sport. But even with Devon, he doesn't like it doesn't seem like no ref is ready to take full control and put him in his place and say, you're not going to win this battle of wills with me. You're not going to intimidate me. You're not going to bully me. And if you want to try, you're going to start taking L's very quickly.
Yeah, no, I agree. And refs get a bad rep in every sport because if you're a really good ref, you're rarely talked about, and if you're a horrible ref, you're talked about a lot. And I think Collins is a great ref, honestly, for the most part.
He's a great ref.
And to segue into this, I don't think reffing is honestly that hard. I know people they talk about what a thankless job it is and how hard it is. It's not that hard. The match is not about you, so don't over ref. Don't over ref and start making up pin calls and making up elbow fouls and little tiny micro things. Let the match play out. Enforce the King's move. Enforce the hard line rules of big elbow fouls or when it comes to arm wrestling, there's a lot of fouls that you technically have to call because the guy's going to win if not. But don't make it about you and make the other two guys fight within the rules. Other than I think it's embarrassing how long it takes to start a match in arm wrestling. Like if both guys they're constantly doing a ton of shit. If neither guy's really bitching, just start the match. That's my opinion. For the most part, like there's certain scenarios where a guy's shoulders may be so far not square, you have to square them up. But if both guys aren't bitching, if their wrist looks sort of flat, if they're sort of centered, and if neither guy's complaining, just say ready, go, and then ref it from there.
The ref has 30 seconds, and then he decides it's a ref grip, and then he pulls. And when the ref decides it's a ref grip, really the match should start within 30 seconds.
Yes.
So really, every match, no matter what level of a shitstorm or bullying the pullers are trying to do, the match should start within 1 minute. Like the Devon Shaw match had 30 seconds of actual pulling and an hour 40 minutes, or I don't know, but the ratio of fucking around to the ratio of actual pulling might be like 180 to 1. It's insane. Imagine in football how long a game would be for every down or every play you had 20 times of, jibber jabber and bullshit in between. So, because there's a clock, right? There's a 40-second clock. Every sport has a clock. Arm wrestling doesn't have a clock. Fucking, it's ridiculous. Take fucking control. A minute is the max. 30 seconds ref grip, and when the confines of the ref grip, it shouldn't be 6 minutes later. If the ref knows what he's doing, it's not 6 minutes later. You set, guys. You don't have to reset. You don't have to around. You take control. You set. If they're not comfortable because they don't want the control. That's not your fault. You take control. You set it up so you think it's fair, and you say go. If there's an infringement, if there's a foul, boom, 1 foul, 2 fouls. Like it really should be quick. And it's not the pullers. This is decades, 2 decades of referees not having spines.
Yeah, I think the future of high level arm wrestling and arm wrestling in general is it's going to trend towards every match starts in a referee's grip. I think there's going to end up being no fuckery. You start palms together, referee's grip. I'm going to set the grip, and if you move when I'm setting the grip, it's going to be a foul. I think that's kind of the future of the sport because there's these pay-per-view cards that are getting put together. It should not take 8 fucking hours to have 15 super matches. That's crazy.
When I started arm wrestling, when my first ref script, I remember the ref saying any movement from the upper body, and it's a foul. 2 fouls and you're going to lose the match. You better be a statue. And both of us were like a statue. Now you see that when the ref places people, there's movement with the shoulders, there's movement with the neck, there's rising, there's cupping, there's elbows coming up, and often one athlete will say to the ref, he's moving, and the ref won't foul anyone. He'll just say, okay, guys, let's try this again. The fuck are you doing? What standard are you setting when there's a negotiation process in movement? Ref strip is movement, you get a foul. The first person that moves gets a foul. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're muddling up the rules to the point where in 5 years or 3 years, we don't even need a ref. Just put a fucking broomstick with, a cushion with a referee's shirt and just post them next to the table and just have a match because they're getting to the point where they're utterly useless. They're utterly fucking useless.
Yeah.
So
and I think this may sound crazy to a lot of arm wrestlers and referees out there. I think another rule, if we could implement a rule into arm wrestling that would make it 100 times easier on the ref, is that you can't cap your thumb. If people couldn't cap their own thumb, the referee's job would be so much fucking easier. Because from my personal experience, half the time I spend reffing is, hey, come down on the knuckle, come down on the knuckle. Like if you can't cap the thumb, which it's not even really a huge advantage. I know a lot of people think it is. It's mostly fucking annoying for the ref and your opponent, and you're trying to get away with something. It's if people couldn't cap their thumb, if they had to be like this, or if you couldn't cover your own thumb, the ref's job would be so much easier.
you're 100% right. And the reason people like capping the thumb is because that's a great vantage point to start cheating. When you cap your thumb, you're a micro move away from completely overwhelming your opponent's hand. If you cannot cap your thumb, it's very hard to climb in that little second before the ref says go. But the problem is, imagine the top rolling, the Matt Masks of this. Well, Matt actually doesn't cap. He actually doesn't. He rises, but he's a low hand top roller that doesn't cap. So he's a bad example. But could you imagine the Travises, the Devons? Michael Todd is a guy that because he's always trying to rotate for straps, he's always over the knuckles. And the ref just say, don't move it, don't climb over. The ref positions you, and if you rise before the go, it's a warning or a foul, but they don't do it. But I agree. If you eliminate capping, you eliminate 70% of the bullshit in the tight start of the match. But that will never happen. You'll never ever see that because I think 95% of all arm wrestlers today prefer the cap because it's a great vantage point to rise quickly and get an advantage very quickly in arm wrestling.
Yeah, I think we'll never see it either, but I think it would eliminate the bullshit. And I think if they instituted it, arm wrestlers would just adapt. And that doesn't mean you can't cap after the go, but when we're starting you in a starting position, you can't cap your own thumb knuckle. It would be so much. It would be so much if they're trying to get more viewers. It would be so much better for the people watching because the matches would start more fluid.
If they ever did that, I make a comeback and I probably won't lose under 170.
Well, yeah, let's see. Like that's what I mean. Like every match right now is finger fighting faggots. Like that's what it comes down to is people that are just finger fighting and like all this, and then after 10 minutes of their first match where they're trying to get a grip because they're both doing finger fighting, and then they both slip, and then they're fighting in a ref's grip, and then the ref sets the grip, and they're both cheating. Like, just make them close their fucking hands. Can't cover your own thumb knuckle, and even then, if it's two top rollers and they end up in the straps, well, the stronger top roller is going to win. Like it's not that big. It's not as big of an advantage, I think, as most people think it is. Where, yeah, having your hands higher is great, but if the other guy can't cap either, who has the advantage? You're negating the advantage by ensuring the other guy can't do it either.
Yeah, capping your thumb legally is not a big advantage. Capping your thumb illegally, and rising over your opponent before he has a chance is a huge advantage, and that's what people are fighting for. And refs sometimes allow and sometimes don't. Some refs are very hard on the cap rule, and others aren't. I used to take a pen right over the middle line of my thumb knuckle, and I see the ref. You're respecting him. You see the line? He says, yeah. And so whenever all my opponents always try to go over my thumb, cover my thumb, and I said, I got to see the line. You got to see the line, ref. And the ref would be like, yeah. Some of them didn't like it because they think I'm doing their job. When I pay my $25, I think I'm entitled to fair starts. That $20, $25, $30, whatever, that entitles me for a fair shot. And you're going to give me a fair shot. And if you don't like that I'm dictating that to you, I don't give a fuck. I'm entitled to a fair shot. I'm entitled to a full swing at that ball. Like, so you're going to give me a fair shot to win or lose. And if I lose, fine. But they're going to respect my thumb. They're going to respect the wrist being straight. And you're going to respect the center of the table. North-south. Let's go. Roughing isn't hard, but it's hard when you're, spineless pussy. Like it can be hard when you can be bullied. Of course, refs
Yeah.
cannot be bullied. The refs get bullied in all sports today
Yeah, you have
because
to
they get.
you have to be willing to take a stand and make calls regardless of who the person is. Like I refereed a match a couple weeks ago. It was a money match. It was Tim Lewis and Jordan Graham. Tim Lewis was pulling a real strong left-handed guy here, and Tim Lewis lost the second round because the guy shoulder pressed. He was top rolling and then came in with a quick shoulder press and pinned Tim. And Tim was kind of freaking out at me, like, "Oh, his shoulder touched. His shoulder touched." And I told Tim, I was like, "Hey, man, I didn't see it." And he's like, "Oh, come on, you got to be kidding me! His shoulder touched." And I said, "Tim, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I'm not calling a foul I didn't see. So I'm not calling you a liar, but I'm not going to make that call because I didn't see it." And I think that's what refs should do too. Truthfully, is they need to stand by their calls. If you see it, call it. If you didn't see it and the match happens, if you have instant replay, use it. Like instant replay is great now with all the camera angles and shit. Like we didn't have multiple camera angles, but you have to be able to stand by your calls and you have to make the fucking calls. Like if guys are taking forever in the setup, you got to follow somebody. You can't just keep redoing a ref script when there's no movement. Like you said earlier, you'll see guys in a referee's grip where they close the hands and they're both like this. And then the refs are like, "Oh, let me bend this out." Like it's a referee's grip. They can't be like that. Call a foul on somebody. Call a foul on both of them. Put them both on one foul.
Do something. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and it's frustrating to watch because you have a card with 8 super matches, 6 super matches. It shouldn't take 7 months. It shouldn't take 5.
I'll fast forward through matches like a shitload. Like Kelly and I will buy the match after we'll do our whole day. We'll pay for it, do our whole day, and then go back and you can fast forward. Like it can be an 8-hour super match event, and you can watch it in 2 hours.
Less, even the big time. Like if you want to do the interviews and when they're coming up to the table with the introductions. Okay, yeah, for sure. But it can easily be shorter than that if you just want to watch it. But yeah, I agree. It's crazy. It's crazy. But anyway, it is what it is. But and I also think I don't like seeing, especially in like you see it in football, where a ref and Tom Brady are having a nice laughing conversation. Like you can't be a laughing, jovial. Like you're gonna have to make hard calls on these guys. And if you're overly friendly with them, when you make that hard call, they're gonna kick back. So you have to be just straight edge, like a goddamn fucking machine. When some guy talks to you like you did with Tim, look, this is where I saw it. But if the guy keeps persisting, you're like, the conversation's over. Shut up. Like, you can't keep badgering me. You can't badger refs. You can have a criticism, boom, I think, and the ref, okay, no problem. But you can't keep going on and disrespecting them. I think it's a bad look for any sport, in my opinion. But maybe it's good for the business of the sport. I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of people that enjoy watching it, but I
don't even think it's good for the business long term. Like I think for Ingen and any arm wrestling pay-per-view promoter who's doing this long term, he needs to kind of cut these events down to 3 to 4 hours. Honestly, these 8-hour events are way too fucking long. And if he wanted to get serious about it, he should have a main card where it's the 5, 6, 4 to 6 matches that you want to pay for. And then the other 8 matches he does should be free. So people watch those on a stream. They can watch those matches. And then they get it just like UFC. You get a pay-per-view cutoff. And if you want to watch the rest, you have to pay for them. Because not only does the same people that were going to buy the pay-per-view before will buy it now, but you're opening the market to people who weren't going to buy it. Now those people can see your production, can see your commentators, can see all that. And you're going to get probably at least I would figure at least a 20% increase on each pay-per-view buy just by streaming those first 6, 7, 8 matches for free. Because you're going to get people that are like, "Oh man, I saw these matches, but I want to see Devon or I want to see these guys pull," and they're going to pay the $20. But if you put those first few matches for free, then everyone gets to see them. So you're getting more eyes on it, and you can chop up your highlights for your YouTube channel. Like it takes forever to get his YouTube highlights out, but you can chop those up immediately and put them out because nobody paid for them.
That's right. That's a good point. Very good point.
Yeah, and I think we've been going for a while now, so that's probably a good time to end this. I do want to ask you one question though before we end it.
Yeah.
If you I don't want to say arm wrestling specific. What would it take for a woman to be sexy, beautiful, hot, whatever word you wanted to use? What is a hot woman in your eyes?
Um, well, there's two variables. One is the optics. Like, what does she look like? Is she physically appealing? But there's also like confidence in how she body language and how she carries herself is incredibly, I guess, I want sexy or attractive as well. So there's those two things. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I wouldn't care how she carries herself or if she was confident or insecure. I wouldn't give a fuck. It's just the optics. The older I get, the more I find appeal in women that are hold their own and are confident and um, you know, not overly loud and obnoxious, but very subdued, controlled. You know, characteristics of strength opposed to insecurity. Insecurity, all that shit is not very attractive. So you look for strong psychological traits as well as the typical, uh, stereotypical physical traits that men covet in women.
So you
But
don't find you don't find submissiveness attractive in a woman at all?
absolutely not.
None?
Yeah, I'm in a relationship. In a relationship, the dynamic of submissiveness and dominance in a good relationship the balance can go back and forth, especially if there's reciprocal respect and both people are not, there's no insecurity. But I do not find, I find strong-willed women, hyper-competitive women, um, incredibly attractive because they'll challenge me. Women that don't challenge me and just will lose my, even if they're really attractive, will never end up in a relationship because I cannot get stimulated intellectually by them because they'll never challenge me. I like to be challenged. I like to, I like witty banter. I like all that shit. Um, so for me, I'm not big on submission, and submission in general is not a trait of a strong person. And I think strength and character and sexiness are almost synonymous. Um, and but yeah, to answer your question, submission. I mean, maybe in a one night stand, I don't think it's a terrible thing. But when you're looking at the dynamics of a long term relationship and having to hold on to that appeal to that person for the integrity of the relationship, submission for me is not a good thing. It's not a good thing. I think it works well for men that need it because deep down they might have an insecurity complex and they need um, they need to they need to feel always in control, so they don't feel challenged and their self-esteem is never challenged. I see often now today in today's world a submissive man dating a stronger woman, almost like a mother figure, who can take care of them and tell them what to do, and that's also disgusting to see, in my opinion. But that's not a reciprocally healthy relationship either. It's um, there's not an equal balance, and it can work. People can be happy that way, but I don't think it's necessarily healthy. But yeah, I don't know. It's also when I tried to construct that top 10 most formidable lays of female arm wrestler list that I was going to try to pump out today, and I realized it's fucking hard because the variables don't change. What makes when you're presuming or trying to assume or speculate on why if a woman would be good in bed, you're looking at multiple things, and there's only three things. There's physical fitness and endurance because a 300-pound cow is not going to be great in bed. Okay, generally, well, not generally, exclusively. So you're looking at physical fitness and endurance, being in shape, cardiovascular health, and all that shit, and then you're looking at confidence and assertiveness. These are traits that will make a woman very good in bed, regardless of her physical appeal, in my opinion. So if I could stick to the top 10, number 1 and number 10 would all have conviction, assertiveness, sexiness, confidence, and would be generally physically fit. It, generally. And so we would make 10 or 1. There has to be a gap if you're going to create a list. So it's more interesting for me for us to have an open conversation on what makes what we think would what we speculate, what more than variables to make a woman list based on that, and I'd have to throw in a lot of jokes. Like there'd be a lot of jokes, but it wouldn't be a very authentic list because, you know, unless I slept with all 10, then it's interesting as hell because then I can give you data, right? But I don't have the data. Um, so it's a speculation, and speculation based on three variables that don't shift whether you're talking about number 1 or 10. When we did our beta list, we can give examples to each one on why we thought he was a beta, and we can bring out tangible facts and evidence that we saw in each one, to which why number 1 is more beta than number 10. But in the list of why I think a woman's good in bed,
it's a ton of speculation.
Yeah, and it doesn't shift, right? So it's kind of like you're just basically making a joke of it. So it's not an authentic list. And I don't know. When I was creating it, I'm like, it's hard to do. It's almost like a troll job because you can't make an authentic list. But top 10 hottest, that can be super tangible and that's easy to do. But speculating on who's good in bed,
yeah,
it all comes down to the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah,
unless you throw in some jokes. I had Lori Cole at number 5, who's like 66 years old, and the reason why she's at number 6 is because back in 1973 she slept with Burt Reynolds. Any woman that sleeps with Burt Reynolds has to be she's got to be formidable in the sheets, right? She's got to be a mattress bender. She has to. Burt Reynolds will not sleep with any woman that can't, fucking bend a mattress. So
she smoked the bandit. Yeah, you got to put
it. So boom. So you have Lori Cole. But then again, I'm throwing in jokes, which takes away from the authenticity of a list. And when I make a list, I try to make it super authentic and super legit. So it's like here I am, kind of like in the middle ground here. It's a half measure of a list.
Well, I don't know. I think part of it is that you're possibly being like, it is a ton of speculation, and it doesn't have to be 100% accurate because you're just making shit and it's speculation. And part of it is because of me. I'm putting it 100% on you because, like, full disclosure to the world, there's no chance in hell I'm doing a top 10 best arm wrestling females in bed or a top 10 hottest females ever list.
No.
It's not because like people can call me a pussy or call me whatever they want. I would never disrespect my wife.
Yeah, that's right.
By making a list like this and go like I'll commentate on yours and go back and forth with you, but I'm never going to make this list.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
So I'm putting a ton of pressure on you to do this top 10.
And out of respect for your wife, I actually had her at number 3. So it's like there's respect for her on both from you and from me. But look at your wife. On
my list, she'd be number 1. So I think you're underrating her.
But if we're objective, look at your wife. She's incredibly assertive. She's incredibly strong-willed. She's not submissive. Well, maybe she is, but I don't like. Not her personality is not submissive. What she does in bed, but her personality is not submissive. She's assertive. She's in good shape. She's strong physically. Like that is the marker of a woman that can fuck your shit up.
Yeah, she banged me out, bro.
But that's the template. But whether it's 1 or 10, the template doesn't change. And I have no data. It's all like, maybe I want to put this girl at number 2 because she might message me and there's a chance. But like everything it's not a legit list. You can't it's not a legit list.
I could maybe sometime in the future, who knows? But all of this was a precursor for hopefully next week. And I'm not trying to put pressure on you, Chris. Hopefully next week we have Chris Gabi because maybe you guys don't know, like maybe 10 years ago, Chris did a top 10 hottest female arm wrestler.
Top
20 years ago?
No, I top 20. I did 20 women.
Top 20. Okay. Like 10 years ago, Chris did a top 20. And I remember when it came out because it was fucking bonkers on Facebook. All the arm wrestlers were chiming in there. It got huge. It almost became like an in the hook rankings, top 10 arm wrestling rankings, but it was like the women have more interest in being ranked on this list than on the arm wrestling list. So hopefully next week Chris can premiere his new top 10, and I might even make an official page, fucking Chris Gabi top 10 hottest female arm wrestlers list if we end up doing this.
And I'll definitely do that because that's not demeaning. Well, demeaning, it's not, but it's interesting to do because yes, it's subjective, but I can give detailed analysis on why 1 is more significant than 10, even though they're all attractive. Like I can break it down and make it a legit list.
You're not trying to project how they are.
No, because that's hard to do because it's not even the projection is based on 3 traits that carry over from each woman, right? Like I can say that number one and the hottest chick, the reason she's number one is boom, 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 boom. And that can be totally different qualities from number 8. Because all women have different qualities and traits of sexual appeal. And so, I mean, it can shift and it's interesting. And someone else can say, well, I disagree because I find these, and it creates a discussion. But being good in bed, there's only really 2 or 3 variables. You can't really, and it doesn't change from one to the other. And you're speculating. So it's a tough list to make, unless you're just trying to joke around or piss off some men out there. But I'll tell you this. When I did make my list, I'll give you one. That number one in who I think was the best woman in bed was what's her from Sweden? Peterson. Is it Peterson? Carolina Peterson? Am I getting that right?
Caroline Peterson?
Yeah, it was her. Incredibly sexy, incredibly confident, puts herself out there on social media, so she's definitely not shy and timid, and very physically fit, ton of endurance, and just oozes sexual assertiveness. And I just get my instincts. Again, it's instinct, it's speculation, but for me, that chick's a Wolverine in the sheets, guaranteed, book it. But I could be dead wrong, but
I'm not really familiar with what she looks like. I don't remember her, but maybe this, you saying that, will lead to the future where you can verify. So
no. She's way too far enough. I've sent her too many messages that went.
You already got blocked.
Yeah. I sent her a message once. There's tactics to getting a woman's attention. And she's out of my league. She's younger. She's way more attractive. And she's out of my league. And I sent her a message. I said, you wouldn't believe this, but I had sex with a woman last night that just looked just like you, except she was much younger. And that got her attention. She laughed her ass off. So there's ways to get women's attention by being, trying to be witty and, show not douchebag confidence, but like, manly confidence and stuff. It goes nowhere, but you maybe get a chuckle and a laugh. But if my probability of sleeping with her, nothing is 0%. So if my probability of sleeping with her was 0.001, that joke brought it to 0.00. It changes. Nothing is 0. Nothing is completely certain. So you can always shift the probability of something through actions. And I love deducing probability like that because it's never 0.
Yeah, you got to play the game, man.
Never 0.
You got to play the game.
Like, I told a buddy, like, I made a move, and he's like, you have no chance. I'm like, well, it's not a 0. Nothing is 0. Like, so you can't say it's a 0% chance. It's not 0.0. It might be 0.13, right? But it's not 0. And if I can make her smile, if I can make her laugh, now it's 0.45. Like, it goes up if you can make the girl laugh.
If you can make her laugh, it might go from 0 to 5%. Like, it might just way up.
And if she never finds out that I have chlamydia, then it can go to 13%.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, no. But so you have to. But it's I love playing these games with probability and speculation and seeing if I can't increase my chances. Anyway, it's all good. I love human dynamics.
Well, I think personally, you're starting yourself off too low with the 0% chance. I think it's higher than that, but I understand it at the base. But yeah.
Okay. What's in your opinion? What's my chance? And if I go hard at the net, if I go hard at the rim, if I get, what is my chance of scoring, having sex with the person, Jennifer Lopez? It's in the 0.012. Like it's in the.
It's low, but I would even. Yeah, it's probably 1%. Yeah, man, your mic's all fucked up again. All I heard on the last one was J-Lo. So we'll end this here. I don't want to get too much to edit, but hopefully next week, if you women want to get higher up on that list, you got to DM Chris. It has nothing to do with me. DM Chris. Maybe send him some photos so he can have more to review. I don't know, but that was this episode, and I'll see you next week, bro.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Tell them to send me a laptop and a $400 mic. How about
that? Number 1, yes.
There you go. All right, man. Take it easy. Later.
Spartacus Project Podcast.